Luffy's triumphant victory over Kaido has marked an extraordinary milestone in the One Piece saga. His conquest of the strongest creature not only solidifies his position as the Emperor of the Sea, but also propelled his bounty to an astonishing 3 billion berries, cementing his status as one of the most formidable figures within the series. However, the aftermath of this colossal battle sparked fervent debates and controversies that cast shadows of doubt on the legitimacy of Luffy's triumph. Many fans raised legitimate questions about the circumstances surrounding Luffy's victory. Some contend that Kaido's act of lifting the entire island of Onigashima during their duel hindered him from unleashing his full potential. It's posted that this incredible feat of strength, while astounding, may have sapped Kaido's energy and focus, leaving him less formidable than in a one-on-one encounter. This perspective suggests that if the battle has taken place without any extraneous factors, Kaido might have effortlessly emerged as the victor. Yet it is very essential to remember that such arguments, while intriguing, challenges the conventions of the shonen genre. In shonen battles, it is time-honored tradition for both protagonist and antagonist to bring their A-game to the final showdown unless explicitly stated otherwise. Any deviations from this principle would undermine the integrity of the battle and the character growth that defies these narratives. In Kaido's case, some critics proposes that he may not have exerted significant effort in maintaining the island's levitation, allowing his devil fruit power to bear the brunt of the burden. This assertion hinges on the observation that many devil fruit abilities can function independently of their user's input, provided the user remains conscious and alive. The user's physical strength may not necessarily correlate with the effectiveness of the power. A pertinent example is Vanderdeken's Mark fruit, which enables him to move the colossal Noah ship without displaying signs of exhaustion, even though Decker was not on par with Luffy in terms of raw physical strength. Another case in point is Doflamingo's Birdcage, an ability that continued to exert its influence over Dressrosa, regardless of whether Doflamingo was actively engaged in combat with Luffy or not. This suggests that certain devil fruit powers, like Kaido's flame clouds, can operate independently of their user's condition. Hence, it is plausible that Kaido might have dedicated only minimal effort to the task of keeping Onigashima afloat, reserving the bulk of his concentration and the power for his fierce battle against Luffy and his comrades. In light of these considerations, one must acknowledge that Kaido's perceived underperformance may have been the product of a strategic choice rather than an inherent weakness. Ultimately, the showdown between Luffy and Kaido was meticulously crafted to remove any lingering doubts about Luffy's newfound strength, solidifying his status as the legendary figure in the world of One Piece. Another compelling argument supporting the notion that Kaido was not operating at his peak during his encounter with Luffy revolves around the multitude of opponents he had to contend with prior to their final showdown. This list of adversaries raised against Kaido was not short of formidable. 7 of the Red Scabbards, including Kiemon and others, the indomitable Eustace Kid, the Leather Killer, the cunning Trafalgar Law, the formidable Roronoa Zoro, and even the formidable Yamato, who was also protecting Momonosuke. The cumulative effect of these confrontations may have gradually taken a toll on Kaido, leaving him potentially fatigued and weakened by the time he squared off against Luffy. Indeed, there was observable signs of Kaido's stamina being gradually eroded, as evidenced by the diminishing intensity of his flame clouds, which were crucial for lifting the gargantuan Onigashima Island. However, it is noteworthy that this accumulated exhaustion did not appear to significantly hinder Kaido's performance when he faced Luffy. Remarkably, he continued to unleash his most devastating moves and techniques with undiminished power. Although his overall stamina might have been reduced, his combat prowess and output remained astonishingly consistent. Moreover, the extent of Kaido's injuries and wear and tear should not be overstated. Among his adversaries, only Luffy managed to inflict consistent, severe, and lasting damage. Kid and Momonosuke's attack, while causing pain, failed to inflict substantial harm. The slashes inflicted by the Red Scabbards, despite their theatrics, were too shallow to pose a grave threat. Law, Killer, and Zoro could only land a single significant blow each, with Zoro's strike being the only one to leave a noticeable scar. Even Yamato herself admitted that her role was more about delaying Kaido until Luffy's return for another round of combat. Furthermore, there are hints that Kaido might possess a minor healing factor, as his wounds seemed to close up and stop bleeding as he battled. A crucial aspect to consider is that by the culmination of the raid on Onigashima, Luffy emerged as the sole combatant capable of inflicting the necessary damage to defeat Kaido. Without Luffy's resilience or unwavering determination, Kaido might have not recovered from the brink of defeat, potentially leading to the destruction of his comrades and remaining forces of the alliances. While other members of the worst generation might have had the potential to contribute, their exhaustion from their preceding battles made it uncertain. Luffy alone possessed the sheer strength and resolve to deliver a decisive knockout blow, securing the raid's success and solidifying his status as the paramount figure in this extraordinary battle. Another compelling argument arises in the debate over whether Kaido gave his all in his confrontation with Luffy. Beyond the previously mentioned points, one striking observation is Kaido's deliberate decision not to evade Luffy's Gum Gum Bajrangan attack. It's worth noting that had he chosen to evade this devastating technique, he could have counterattacked with his fearsome Kain Daiko, potentially delivering a finishing blow to Luffy. However, this contention falls within the realm of shonen battle manga conventions. In such narratives, dodging or blocking an opponent's most potent attack is not necessarily a sign of superiority. Instead, the true mark of dominance is established when combatants clash using their ultimate moves, determining who emerges as the victor. If Kaido had chosen to dodge or block Luffy's Bajrangan attack, he would have indirectly conceded that Luffy possesses the strength to harm or potentially defeat him. This would have been a repeat of humiliation he has endured during episode 1025. Kaido's pride and desire for a genuine, evenly matched battles are pivotal factors in his decision-making throughout this encounter. Indeed, Kaido's yearning for a fair and honorable fight against Luffy cannot be overstated. It is evident in his choice to assume his hybrid form, consuming alcohol as a power-up, expressing frustration when Guernica attempted to intervene on his behalf, permitting attacks to land on him, and adopting to various other strategies that showcased his respect for Luffy's prowess as an opponent. This profound respect for Luffy underscores the idea that Kaido was willing to give his all in this battle and not resort to half measures. Furthermore, Kaido's desire to determine the ultimate victor between himself and Luffy resonated deeply with both characters and readers alike. He made every conceivable effort to ensure that this clash represents a genuine test of strength, showcasing his commitment to the battle and the outcome's importance. Luffy also had the same dedication, giving his all and relying on his allies when needed to secure victory. The significance of Luffy's triumph becomes evident when considering the multiple times he needed assistance to overcome Kaido's overwhelming might, especially in the early stages of the raid. What are your thoughts about this video? Was Kaido really nerfed to let Luffy win? What are your thoughts? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like this video and check out my other two videos over here, and I will see you in the next one. Sayonara.